What's going on, our space fans? As we're rounding out the year of 2020, we thought we'd throw in some stories where people aren't really sure why they're being treated like the bad guy here. So let's dig in and see if we can figure it out. First up, I, 36 male, have refused to go to the future wedding of my now ex-wife, 37 female, and it's really affecting the relationship with our kids. Thought I'd give this a chance to see if I can get some insight into my situation, as I can't see what I've done that's so wrong and what I can do to remedy it. So we've been married 15 years, together longer, and have 3 kids. She has a daughter from her first relationship who's now 18. I class her as mine, I've done everything for her. And we have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old sons. Now, she was upfront and honest when we got together that she was bi, and it was never an issue last year until she said she thought she was ultimately a lesbian and had fallen in love with her now fiancé, a 35 female. And it led to a divorce, as I was unwilling to open the relationship or consider a poly situation. So we've been divorced a year, although we're still good friends and have a good co-parenting relationship. Even though we're good, I still am suffering, and can't say I'm even close to moving on yet. The kids live with her primarily, although I see them multiple times a week, and can say if I didn't have them, I'd have nothing. So basically, I got a call from my ex earlier on in the week saying she had to tell me something. That she's now engaged. I was shocked as heck. Basically, she said they're not going to do the typical thing and have a long engagement. They're looking at getting married as soon as lockdown has been lifted, and they're on about moving in together as soon as possible. And there's more. She said she wants to have me as her best man, as she still considers me her best friend and can't think of anyone else she'd rather have there. Suffice it to say, I told her I wasn't happy with it and said I'm not going to be her best man or don't think it's a good idea for me to be at the wedding. And definitely don't like the idea of moving someone in around my kids after a year. Now my kids love the fiancé. My kids are always talking about her. Suffice to say, she was upset and we haven't spoken since. I mean, if that was just it, then I wouldn't be that upset. I mean, in what way does going to a wedding, seeing my wife marry the woman who she left me for, seem like a good idea? And to be the best man? My kids found out, though, somehow, and are really upset. My daughter particularly really went off and said she thought I was better than that, and if I don't go to the wedding, she'll never talk to me again. The youngest 2 don't want to come and see me this week, and also have refused to talk to me. I'm still close and have a relationship with my in-laws, and they've also been on my case saying I should go, especially for my kids' sake. Here's where I need help, and someone to talk to. What do I do? I mean, the last thing I want to do is be false and go to a wedding watching the woman who I thought I'd be with forever marry someone else. Yet I hate the thought that my kids are suffering, and the prospect of not having them in my life, even if it's for a short while, is like torture. Help! Too long didn't read. Invited to my ex's wedding and asked me to be the best man. I refused, as she's upset, and my kids are threatening to cut me off, and the in-laws are acting poorly also. Update. Basically, everything all moved forward today. So basically thought I'd be best to reach out to my daughter, so I messaged her along the lines of, "Hey, I know you're not talking to me now, but I think we really need to talk." To my surprise, she agreed and came over very quickly. Basically, I said to her that as she's an adult, I won't sugarcoat things now. I'm really not in a good place, and her mom getting married to her girlfriend and asking me to be best man is a bit too much for me when I'm struggling to move on with my life. She says she sort of understands, but it hit her close to home. She then came out to me as a lesbian herself. She said she's known for a while now. She told her mom and my ex a while ago, but wasn't sure how to tell me. And because of the way I reacted to the wedding, she was worried I wouldn't be able to accept it. I reassured her that I love her dearly and I'm proud of her for being honest with me, and stressed the way I feel about her mom and her, now fiancé, is nothing to do with the fact they're lesbians, but because she's my ex-wife and I can't just turn my feelings off like that. I'd feel exactly the same way if her mom was marrying a dude. We hiked it out, and she said she'd talk to her brothers and see if she could get them to come around, because they live with mom and see the fiancé often. They see her and love her a lot, so they don't understand. I said to her I can't promise I'd go to the wedding eventually, but if I feel up to it, I may try, but it will be hard for me. While she was there, she FaceTimed her mom from her phone, and I got a chance to talk to my ex. I basically was honest, said I feel like she blindsided me and sprung it on me without thinking about how I feel. especially about putting me on the spot about making me her best man. I said the invitation to the wedding was one thing, but that was a bit too much for me. She took it all in and apologized, and admitted it's because she's all loved up and her family are giving her all the platitudes about how happy and proud they are, so she got caught up in the moment. She asked me how I feel about it now. I said in all honesty, it's a bit too much to consider at the moment, but I definitely am not going to be her best man regardless. She understands, and said she won't expect that of me. But if I didn't want to go to the wedding itself, would I be interested in going to just a reception? I said in all honesty, I don't know if I can, and she shouldn't expect me to. She agreed and said she'll leave it to me, and will try to understand if I can, but would be made up if I can. The boys were there, so I asked if she could put them on, but they didn't want to talk to me. Honestly, that feels like a punch in the balls, so left it there before it started me crying, and she saw it, and let the daughter leave so I could be on my own. I've never liked her to see me too emotional, especially cry. So there you have it. We've all made peace as such, but there's a long way to go yet. Edit. A lot of people have said about her cheating. While she did meet her now fiancé before we split, I don't believe there was physical intimacy. Possibly an emotional thing, but I don't believe they got together until we split. Edit 2. A lot of people have picked up on not showing emotion around my kids. I do show emotion around them. I'm loving, funny, affectionate, humble, etc. And I do show sadness at things like funerals, but I generally don't like them to see me cry, especially at things like this. Let's see what the community says. Bored of this now says, I commend you for standing your ground and making yourself heard, and I'm so glad you and your daughter have worked it out, and hopefully your sons will come around with the chat from her too. Don't be afraid to let her see you cry, and see you have emotions too though. It's already caught you out once when all this started, because you didn't even think that Dad could have his own emotions and feelings about this wedding. I wish you all the luck, and I really hope it all works out for you. A deleted account, I think it might be the OP, was quoting that don't be afraid to let her see you cry and see you have emotions too though, and responded, true I suppose, I never thought of it that way. Kabar8 added, I also think that there's some benefit to showing similar emotions to your sons. It's okay to show them that heartbreak freaking hurts. And you say exactly what you've said already. You want the best for her, but you are also heartbroken for yourself. I do wish you the absolute best. In time, I do see everyone coming to peace with this. You are handling everything very responsibly and not bad-mouthing your ex, etc. So everyone just needs some time. Tatchley86 chimed in with, I feel for OP bad. I've never been cheated on, but I had a girlfriend break up with me while I was stationed overseas, and another that was horrifically abusive, racist, and belittling of my bisexuality. To have your own flesh and blood side with a bad guy in a failed relationship must hurt in so many ways. Moving on to the next story. My 45 male, wife, 42 female, revealed she was unfaithful and I'm divorcing her. Our children, 15 female and 17 male, hate me for it. My wife and I have been together for 18 years. We had our ups and downs, but overall, our marriage has been solid and she was my best friend. We've always been very close with our children and have raised them very much as a unit, and in turn, they're very close to us. About 2 weeks ago, I brought up an advice column in the paper I had read regarding infidelity and talked about it for a bit, and I could see she had clearly started to tear up and was attempting to hide it, so I asked her what was bothering her. She confessed that about 7 years ago, she cheated on me with a former coworker on a business trip, and then once with him after that, before breaking it off due to guilt. This was around the time she left that job for a new one, which she had told me back then was due to feeling like it wasn't a good fit, but now confesses was because she didn't want to work with him anymore. She says she never had a good reason for it. She knew it was wrong then, but gave in to the urge and nothing has ever happened since. Claims she confessed now as she can't live with the guilt of hiding it from me. We talked about it for the next 3 days when the kids were in school. I'll try her best not to let them know while they were home. I realized I knew I'd never be able to let this go, nor would I be able to forgive her. She's distraught. We sat our kids down to tell them about the fact our marriage was ending. Obviously, this was extremely tough. They acted as one could expect, and blame was thrown at both of us. My wife and I agreed to tell them it was mutual, but I guess guilt got the better of her again because she ends up crying and telling them not to blame me, that she betrayed my trust in the past and just told me now, and that it's all her fault. This had the opposite of effect that she had intended, and now both our kids actually resent me for not forgiving Mom and ruining our family. My wife has repeatedly tried to put blame back on herself, which only makes the kids double down and defend her more as if she's the victim. I don't want to drag their mother through the mud, so I've been trying to explain as tactfully as I can, but they're gone as far as saying that when I get my own apartment, they don't want to see me anymore, and refuse my suggestion of seeing a therapist together, and reject the idea that I still plan to see them on a regular basis, and be on good terms with their mother. My wife isn't helping matters, as she's been an emotional wreck since I've told her of my plan to leave. I love my kids, but I don't know how to make them understand this without dragging their mother through the mud. I don't know how to assure them this has nothing to do with them, or that I'm not trying to punish or hurt their mom. I just know that I cannot get past this, and for my own happiness, I need to leave. Any suggestions on how to get them to stop seeing me as the villain would be helpful. And we've got no suggestions on that one, but I would really try to stress the family counseling so you can all talk it out and figure out a plan to move forward. Next story. After 12 years of marriage and 2 kids, my 37 female husband, 37 male, came out as gay and we are divorcing. I am sick to death of people telling me how courageous he is and me being expected to go along with it. Is it wrong for me to want to tell them the truth? Mark and I met in college and had a really great relationship. We dated until both of us finished law school, after which he proposed and I gladly said yes. At the time, he was much more religious than I was, and he insisted we have kids right away and that I stay at home with them to raise them while he worked. I had really wanted to start my practice as well, but I could see it was really important to him, so I relented, and we had 2 amazing kids, and his law career really took off. I was able to work from home and hire help 3 times a week, with me still in the house, to do insurance and real estate paperwork reviews. It was something, but I had really wanted to be a litigator. I was even okay with this, and my resentment didn't ever really show unless Mark would remind me that stay-at-home moms should be stay-at-home moms and not work at all. Marriage turned really bad after our second child was born 8 years ago. We basically became like unfriendly roommates. I pleaded with Mark to go to counseling with me, and he would, and things would get better for a few months, then it would go to crap. I would insist on divorce, but then he would remind me that his religion does not allow divorce, so I would insist on counseling, and the cycle repeated itself more times than I can count. Then about a year ago, Mark hit me with the bombshell revelation that he has been gay since he was a teenager. I was honestly relieved for him because it seemed to explain so much of why he acted the way he did, why he was distant and overcompensating with so much. I was actually very relieved that our divorce would finally come and he could live true to himself. He moved out, but it turns out he had been having an affair with his much younger partner for about 5 years. The dates on this are very sketchy, by the way, because it's very possible this man was underage when he and Mark started the affair. He certainly was when he and Mark met. I grew very resentful that I was busy working my fingers to the bone to save the marriage to appease Mark's religious sentiment while he was off having sex, technically cheating on me, and violating the principles of the religion only he really cared about. Our kids are also of the age that I could have easily gone back to work again, but I stayed at home to appease his desire to appear as the perfect Christian couple. All the while he is carrying on with a younger lover. Mark has also fought me at every turn over the divorce. He doesn't want to pay any alimony, even though it would take me years to get my career to where I could support even half the lifestyle the kids and I lead now. He wants to pay bare bones child support and wants the image that we split custody, but in reality, he makes the effort to see the kids once every couple of months and ignores their calls. He's a great lawyer, so even he has to know all he is doing is delaying the inevitable to make things hard on me. In all this time, he's taking sabbaticals from his firm and taking long vacations to places like Tavarua with his boyfriend, delaying our divorce even further. It happens almost daily, and certainly weekly, where family and friends will see me at dinners, the grocery store or restaurants. We live in an old farm community that has essentially been turned into a commuter town for the city nearby, but it retains a very small town feel. And tell me how amazing they think Mark is for living true to himself and being so courageous to finally come out. I've gone along with this because I don't want to embarrass either of us, but yesterday I was approached by an older woman from our old now, thank God, church who almost shamed me for keeping Mark in a relationship that he didn't want to be in. I didn't snap, but it's as close as I've come. The only people that really know how I feel are my best friend, my mom, and my counselor. Is it time that I just start telling the truth when I have one of these awkward interactions? I feel that if Mark had left me for a younger woman he'd been seeing for 5 years, Everyone would be expecting me to spill the beans on what a jerk he was. Too long didn't read. My husband came out as gay. He's been having an affair for 5 years while we struggled to keep the marriage together. He's now being awful in the divorce, but our community wants me to play along and be supportive of his decision. Edit. This totally blew up as I was taking the kids to school. Wow, thank you everyone. Lots of people asking the same questions which I should have clarified at the beginning. Sorry about that. I have a really great lawyer as of January, and he's working on it. Mark did every shitty divorce trick in the book to frustrate me into settling. It took that long for me to be able to even hire a lawyer in our area. I'm lucky in that I could represent myself in preliminary hearings, which in turn allowed a judge to nullify quite a bit of the crappy stuff Mark has done legally. Now that I'm going through it firsthand, I'm absolutely going to go into divorce when I do finally work. I've always heard, but I'm appalled at how dirty tricks can affect people's lives. I'm not out to ruin him, which is thus far why I haven't spread the talk of his affair. I don't think most people know that he cheated on me, and even if they do, they seem to be more impressed with his coming out. I rationalize that ruining him is not in my kids or my best interest. Lots of great tips, and I really appreciate every comment. This was way bigger than I thought, and I'm reading all of them. Thank you. So if those comments were so great, let's see what some of those comments were. GB88 says, I'm a gay man myself, and that's great for him that he came out, but he ruined a large portion of your life. He took up your time, your career, your emotional investments. He did all of that for what? Because he was too scared to face the truth? You are justified in being furious. If my partner came out and told me he was actually straight after building his career, while I stayed at home and put my career on hold to help raise our family, call the amount of walls and punching bags I would want to go through. Then to turn it around in court and not make right and how he wronged you, I honestly don't know how you haven't told people just what exactly he took from you. If he isn't there for the kids will figure it out regardless of the custody battle. Coming out doesn't make you a good parent. You were there for them and still are. You owe it to yourself to fight hard in the custody battle. You owe it to yourself to move on. You owe it to yourself to set the record straight when people praise him for being happy while you are left in the dust. All those years he knew he was lying and he has no respect for you. Pisses me off just reading about your situation. He's an ungrateful jerk. Someone call Karma and tell her she's hit the jackpot. Wife with gay husband responds, You brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so much for the perfect response. Not to take away from anyone else at all, but you really hit it home. Me Underwears suggests, just remember being straight, gay, asexual, or dragon doesn't mean you aren't also an a-hole. If he was a true partner to you, he would have shared his struggle with you so that you could both make decisions about your life together. He chose himself over his spouse and family every step of the way. That said, if you badmouth him too much, some of it will inevitably get back the kids. Be judicious, counselor.